Good morning, everyone. Okay. Repeat after me. Fashion is fun. Personal style is a superpower. I need to put on my glasses. These are two mantras I tell my clients on repeat. Because fashion and style, when cultivated with intention, openness, and thoughtfulness, can truly change how someone moves through the world. It changed me. That, in a nutshell, is the mission of Style Riot: to empower, to build confidence, and to remind people that fashion should be fun. I'm Laura Walters, owner and principal stylist of Style Riot, and I am so honored to be here, truly. Thank you for having me. Style Riot is a luxury styling house dedicated to helping individuals cultivate a wardrobe and personal style that reflect who they are and where they're going. I work with women across many chapters of their lives: CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, frequent travelers, community leaders, politicians, and women who simply move through the world with purpose and presence. They are impactful women building impactful lives. And my work is to help ensure their wardrobe supports that. My work is about helping people build their personal brand through what they wear, finding a deeper connection between fashion, confidence, and authentic self-expression. So today's theme is about growth. And when I was asked to speak on it, it made me smile because owning your business is all about growth. From sun up to sundown. How many of you out here are entrepreneurs? Raise your hand. Wonderful. Well, I'm in good company. How I started, how I got here, and where I'm going. It's not linear, but it's deeply transformative. And in many ways, it mirrors the work I do with my clients. We explore who they were, where they are now, and who they want to become. But to really understand the foundation of Style Riot and to understand the growth that it took to get here, we need to rewind a bit. School was not easy for me. I was competent, very social. I really excelled at the people part of school, A+. But academically, I did struggle. I was diagnosed with ADD at a young age in middle school, and at that time, I saw it as a hurdle. I had a hard time focusing, paying attention, and learning the way others did. And that's difficult at that age, to feel different, to learn differently than your peers. But now, with hindsight and growth, I can honestly say that ADD has been one of my superpowers, and it is at the foundation of why Style Riot is a success. In what I do today, where quick thinking, creativity, and big picture vision are essential, that brain wiring has become my secret weapon. But back then, I didn't know how to channel it. And I didn't know my creative self. And I've been thinking a lot about my creative self in this journey. I was always a creative kid. I had a very big imagination. I loved writing stories. I would put on plays with my sister. And I loved to play dress up, as you can imagine. I was also drawn to vivacious, eccentric people at a young age. A perfect example of that, and I'm going to age myself here, but I was obsessed with Cyndi Lauper when I was young, and also she was just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so. Yes. I was drawn to people stepping out of the box in what they wore, the kind of career they had, and what brought them joy. But as I grew up, I couldn't really land on what defined me creatively, where I felt most at home, how I expressed myself. And because of that, during my years of education, I often felt lost. But through all the trials and tribulations of school and the immense fun that I also had, I graduated with a degree in marketing, and after I graduated, I realized that I was ready for a new adventure. I wanted to embark on a new journey, something new. And also, at the time, I didn't realize it, but I really was wanting to find myself. And so after I graduated, my sister and I embarked on that adventure together, and we packed our bags and we headed for Chicago. So as you'd expect with any big move, Chicago was hard at times, but it was also wonderful. It was my first taste of real independence, a bigger city, more culture. I felt this sense of freedom that I hadn't felt before. And I remember it so vividly. I experienced it truly the minute I moved there. And that freedom led me to really starting to explore my personal style. It felt instinctual. I had always loved fashion, obviously. I was drawn to it. But now I was in a place where I felt my most energized, and it kind of just spilled out of me. It clicked. So I started experimenting with clothes during that time. And I experimented with them in a new way. And again, I felt this freedom, and I also felt this support from this city. That walking around, I saw people, like-minded people. It felt really liberating. So I would play with silhouettes. That was at the time where I started mixing vintage finds with new pieces. I was wearing color fearlessly. I was wearing prints and patterns. It's where I started falling in love with layering. And if you do follow my work, you know that layering is a very big part of my aesthetic, both when I'm working with individuals, in my editorial, and certainly on myself. I felt fearless in fashion. It was there also that I discovered my love of vintage and consignment. My best friend Rigel was from Chicago, and she knew all of the great vintage spots. And so we would go on the weekends and play dress up. And I began to understand not only the enjoyment, but the importance of sustainable shopping, intentional shopping. And it's also where I started building my beloved collection of clothing. And it's so fun. I visit my clothes all the time. They're like family to me. And it's really fun to see pieces in my collection that remind me of that time in Chicago when I first started really exploring my love of vintage and consignment. So, my social life, thriving. Wardrobe, thriving. Career, not so much. I thought real success meant sitting behind a desk. It's what my peers were doing, and I got a job. I got a job at a marketing agency that was focused in the spirits industry. And it was a really fun environment. It was great. I was working with like-minded people, creative people. I got to travel quite a bit, which was really nice. And so on paper, I kind of had the perfect 20-something life. You know, I had a great social life, had a great wardrobe, I had an apartment, I had this job. But man, 9 to 5 every day, behind a desk, I felt tired all the time. And I felt bored. And it didn't bring me any joy. And I knew it. And there was this quiet tug inside of me that I didn't feel fulfilled, but I didn't also know how to feel fulfilled in my career. So, in true Laura fashion, after 5 years, I just said, okay, well, let's try something else. And so I quit my job, and I moved to LA. Why not, right? Now, let me tell you, the sunshine in LA, amazing. The ocean, amazing. The rent prices, not amazing. It's very expensive, very expensive. LA was tough. LA was tough for me. But it was a city that taught me resilience. And I'm grateful for that. And more importantly, it gave me one of the most pivotal moments in my career. So while I was job hunting for that 9-to-5 job in LA, I needed money. And so I needed a placeholder, so I found a job at Anthropology in Pasadena. And the anthropology there was beautiful. Pasadena was beautiful. The people were beautiful. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna work here and make ends meet for a while. What I didn't expect was to really enjoy it. Even more so, kind of fall in love with the work there. So I had no friends, no money, and I was sharing a car in LA where everyone drives. So I literally took every single shift I could at Anthropology. I was an exemplary employee. And at the time when I was working there, I was still really experimenting with my personal style, and I was having fun, and I was also, around clothing, which I really enjoyed, and it gave me an opportunity to work with customers as they were coming in. I really liked helping them find pieces that they would enjoy. And the merchandising manager there took notice of this and asked me if I wanted to assist with window displays, mannequins, and just merchandising overall. And so obviously I said yes. My only friend in LA, I said yes. And the thing is that during that time, I found joy in what I was doing. And for the first time, I realized I still needed to learn a lot. But I saw potential in myself. And I remember thinking, I could be good at this. And that was a real confidence booster for me. It was huge. It also made me realize that maybe, just maybe, I could be creative for a living. And that spark changed everything for me. But I did leave LA. I didn't make it there very long, about a year. But I could have made it. But I missed my family, and they felt very far away. And I also was ready to plant roots. I had been going for 6 years, moving, and I was tired of that. And I remember specifically on the plane ride home, so I was flying home, 5 hours. I had 5 hours to think about, what am I going to do when I land? And it dawned on me. I was looking out the window into the black. It was nighttime. And I knew that if I was going to go back to Indianapolis and I was going to want to stay, I had to do it differently. Over the past 6 years being away, I had changed. I had grown. I had met so many wonderful people, seen wonderful things, and enjoyed a different and creative way of living, of freedom. So I promised myself on that plane ride that I would not fall into a routine of complacency, that I needed to immerse myself in Indy's creative culture, or I was going to want to leave again. And so you know what? That's exactly what I did. I got a job at the YMCA Athenaeum Right? It's not there anymore, though. It makes me sad. No, the YMCA, amazing job, amazing organization. But it was not my dream job, of course. But it was right in the heartbeat of the city. I could feel that creative pulse around Mass Ave when I was there, and I knew exactly where I needed to be. And I'll tell you something. When you've been wandering, when you felt a little lost, when you feel that instinctual feeling, I am where I'm supposed to be, I am where I need to be, man, that feels good. And I'll tell you, through that job, doors opened for me. My job there was basically membership coordinator. I was there to talk to the members and be social, and I got to know all the members of the community as they came in those doors. And also part of my job was to bring the YMCA to the community. So I joined the Mass Ave Merchants Association. I met small business owners, artists, entrepreneurs, all these fascinating people doing their own thing. It felt very much like all of the people that I had surrounded myself with in Chicago and even Los Angeles at the Pasadena Anthropology. I was 100% a social butterfly downtown. I thrived. I was still looking, though, for something, for a career that fit. And you know, my mom told me years ago when I was struggling to find my way, and I was feeling lost, she said, know your gifts. And if you don't know your gifts, write down all the things that bring you joy and find that common denominator. And then lean in. Use it to catapult yourself into the career that you want. And in reflecting on that at that time, it dawned on me. I realized that this social butterfly energy that I'd always had, my ability to connect, to talk to people, to make people feel comfortable, to find common ground, be vulnerable, find humility in one another. It wasn't just a personality trait, it wasn't just a gift, it was a tool. It was a way into my creative life for myself. So, I made a promise to myself. I would meet someone new every Tuesday for a year. I called it Networking Tuesdays. I even had it on my calendar. And every week, coffee, lunch, a glass of wine. I sat down with someone I admired, someone doing interesting work, creative or not, and I asked questions, and I learned. And I really did do that for an entire year. Give or take a few Tuesdays off, but I did that. And that year changed my life. And what's amazing is I look out on this crowd, and there are a few people sitting out there who I met with during those Networking Tuesdays. Those people became mentors, they became friends, they helped open doors for me, they've helped me with Style Riot. And it was even amazing because the people that I met, I could connect them with someone else, and then, you know, they would go on to do something amazing. It was truly the epitome of what networking should be, the essence of it. And through those meetings, I connected with Polina Ashraf, founder of Pattern, and I know she's out there somewhere. And you can imagine, as a person who loved fashion, Pattern was where I wanted to be, of course. And the team at Pattern, oh my gosh. When I met with her, I told her what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be a part of the organization and just really dig deep into it. I was interested in fashion, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with fashion. And at the time, I was even still seeing it more as like a hobby than anything. That 9-to-5 thing was still tugging at me. And she said, well, come on board, volunteer. I'll take it, you know? And during that time, I met so many amazing people, people who are still my friends to this day, including Paulina. And it was then that it hit me, two things hit me when I was there. Fashion wasn't just a hobby. It was where I belonged. And again, what an amazing feeling to feel like you belong somewhere. And also I realized during that time that the avenue of fashion that I was really interested in was styling. And so I told everybody that. Anybody who would listen, I want to try styling. I want to do this. Maybe not as a career, but I want to get my hands dirty and try. And what's really amazing is, and I'm sure all of you out there can attest to this as creatives, if you really want something and you tell people you want it, they will provide opportunity. And that's incredible. But you gotta say yes, right? And I did. I said yes to every single opportunity that came my way, if it involved fashion in some capacity. I did. I assisted on editorial shoots, and then I started doing my own. I assisted in commercial styling, and then I started doing it on my own. Local collaborations, creative collaborations, personal styling, I did it all. So during that time, I was working full-time at the Y, my 9 to 5, and then afternoon or evening, weekends, I was volunteering with Pattern, I was styling, I was doing anything that came my way. I was also certainly having fun as well. I was exhausted, but alive. It was the best. And it's funny, when I was writing this talk, and I was reflecting on that time, it made me laugh because I really was like a living, breathing embodiment of a style riot, you know? That's not where the name came from, but I'll tell you, after years of doing that, after years of saying yes to everything, doing it all, learning, I learned a lot during that time. I was really exhausted. And it's really interesting when you have a parallel life right in front of your eyes, right? You've got this 9 to 5 gig to the left, and it's not bringing you joy. And it didn't have anything to do with the organization, my boss, my colleagues. I loved all of them, but it wasn't filling me up. And then, the minute I would leave, I would go on to do something that brought me immense joy, immense inspiration, and I felt like I belonged. And you can only do that for so long, you know? And I had hit a wall. And here's the thing. I was obviously entertaining at that time, leaving my 9 to 5 and going into full-time styling. But it's scary to do that, right? Like, it's scary to go out on your own. And I was surrounded by the most incredible friends, building their own creative businesses themselves. I had the most amazingly supportive family. And we would talk about, this conundrum and have, evenings where we'd hash it out, right, or what's the best thing to do. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't until I met my now husband, Corey Robinson, who believed in me completely. Makes me cry. One night, he really said this. One night he said, just do it. Jump. You've got this, and I've got you. So I did. That leap, terrifying and exhilarating, became the birth of Style Riot. Style Riot was born from a very simple observation. Indianapolis had incredible people, but it lacked a true resource for building and curating elevated personal style. Something that felt luxurious, yet approachable. Fashion, to me, shouldn't feel exclusive or intimidating. It should feel human. I wanted to create a styling house that combines sophistication and joy, polish and play. When I began to really fall in love with fashion and started entertaining the idea of it as a career, I started researching women in fashion. Women in all facets of fashion. Editors, creative directors, CEOs of fashion houses, fashion designers, bloggers. These women were who I started to look to for strength, inspiration, and even courage. And I was transfixed by them. They were so powerful and poignant. I read all the articles, interviews, watched the documentaries, read their memoirs, listened to talks. I still look at this group of women, these amazing women who I've never had the opportunity to meet in person, but I feel like I know them, and I still look to them to this day, and I stand on the shoulders of their hard work in this industry. And it's not an easy industry, but they did it. And I knew through that I could too. One of these women in particular was Leandra Medine. Who knows Leandra Medine? Now, if you don't know her, she is the founder of the blog Man Repeller. I loved her. I fell in love with her. I loved her whimsy and humor. I loved her intellect. And more than anything, I loved her style. It was unmatched, a maximalist dream. She truly played dress up. She found joy in fashion. And she also had humility. She was hilarious. She was quirky and loved making fun of herself. She also, even though her outfits were out of the box, unique, flamboyant, I noticed one very important aspect of it all. Her style was also polished, elevated, and really good. Not to mention, she was smart, articulate, and confident. She said something in an interview once. She said, "Fashion doesn't have to be serious to be really good." That stuck with me, big time. So much, in fact, that when I started Style Riot, it was Leandra Medine and her energy and approach to fashion and that very tagline that is the foundation of the Style Riot brand. Yes, luxury, but also laughter. Yes, refinement, but also realness. I wanted to meet people where they were, whether that was post-baby, post-divorce, mid-career shift, menopause, or personal reinvention. Because what I realized early on is that style growth and personal growth are one and the same. Every client who comes to me is in a season of transformation, big or small. And what they wear is simply an outward expression of that evolution. So, when I work with clients, my beloved clients, I listen. And we laugh. Very important. And sometimes we cry. And we build confidence. One outfit, one wardrobe, and one brand at a time. That is Style Riot. What I do is help individuals curate a wardrobe that tells their story, one built around quality and not quantity. I also very much believe that luxury is inherently sustainable. That's something I learned back in my adventures shopping in Chicago. It's about investing in clothing that's made well, tailored beautifully, and designed to last. I never want clients to buy more just for the sake of it. I want them to love what they own, wear it often, and we discover together new ways to style it. I see myself as a curator, bringing excellence, precision, and heart to each wardrobe I touch. And that philosophy is exactly what led me to the toggery resale when I first started Style Riot. Can we give the toggery a hand? I wanted to share my love of consignment and vintage and collecting with the Indianapolis community, with all of you. So, I reached out to them. Within the first year of starting Style Riot, I reached out with an idea. What if we created a more curated, less overwhelming way for people to shop consignment? Because let's be honest, right? Consignment stores at times can feel chaotic. Endless options, no clear directions. I didn't feel that way because it was a hobby of mine, it was something I loved, but I knew other people did, and it doesn't have to feel that way. I wanted to break down the assumptions and stigmas people often have about resale and show them how extraordinary it really can be. The thrill of discovering unique, beautifully made, previously loved pieces that still feel new. Pieces with character, craftsmanship, designer labels, at accessible price points. What could be better? So I began curating a weekly rack and styling looks to help guide people through the inventory, to make the experience feel inspiring rather than intimidating. And in doing so, I found such a natural extension of my own values: sustainability, quality, and giving incredible garments a second life. Aside from working with my incredible clients who I love so much, my time at the Toggery is one of my favorite parts of the work I do. Creating clarity, confidence, and a little bit of magic in a space where people often don't expect to find it. Speaking of the Toggery, I brought some goodies. Of course, I couldn't help myself. My wonderful, amazing intern, Riley Kavanaugh, is going to be standing up here after the talk to give you guys an opportunity to look at what I brought. I selected these items yesterday. They are not for sale here, but they are going to be for sale in-store on the Style Riot rack or under my tab on their website. And each of you got a coupon that you can use. They have men's and women's. Each of you got a coupon you can use, just not next week because it's their sale, but after that, you can use it, okay? But also, I just want to give a shout out to my intern, Riley, who is so amazing and was just accepted to Kent State University. She's going to study fashion design. Bravo, Riley. When I think about growth, true, authentic growth, it's not just about scaling a business or adding clients. It's about expanding who you are. For me, growth has looked like trusting my instincts, embracing my many quirks, embracing my gifts, and showing up even when I didn't have it all figured out, which was often in the beginning. Growth has looked like starting over multiple times, multiple cities, maybe move back in with my parents once or twice. Saying yes to what lights me up, what brings me joy, where I feel confident, and creating something that feels true to who I am. And the most beautiful part of all of that is that the growth never stops, right? It never stops. I look out on this audience right now and I see so many familiar faces. And it brings me back to when I was on that plane ride home thinking about how I had to immerse myself in a community. And you're all here. You know, you're all here. I put myself in a place, sure, I moved downtown, but man, this community scooped me up. And I am so grateful to all of you for that. I'm grateful for my clients who took a chance on me when I was still learning. And I look out at this crowd and I think about, we've all been growing together, you know? Many of you entrepreneurs. And we stand alongside each other, support each other. It's so important. The growth never stops. So, let's end where we began, shall we? Repeat after me. Fashion is fun.
Fashion is fun.
Personal style is a superpower.
Personal style is a superpower.
Those mantras aren't just about clothing. They're about permission. Permission to evolve, to experiment, to show up as the truest version of yourself in business, in life, and yes, of course, in your closet. Thank you for letting me share my story, and thank you for letting me grow right alongside all of you.